behind him, you just get a sense of just the sheer number of security personnel who are involved in this operation.
I wanted to point out, Anderson, that the main man, he's just moved out of the screen, but the head of Vatican security and the main guy who's in charge of the operation, at least from the Vatican point of view, is a bald man with glasses that you'll see walking close to the Pope mobile. And he's the one, if the Pope wants to stop, or if there he is in the bottom right hand of your screen there, if the Pope wants to stop, if he wants to kiss a baby, if he wants to do anything, he's the one that is going to know about it and is going to take care of it. So he's running the show from the Vatican side, at least.
And he's standing, waving, and who knows, is it unusual? Delia, you're in Rome, you're at the Vatican all the time. Would he stop that Pope mobile and get out and go talk to people?
Like I said, if they have told him that that is a possibility, they would have agreed beforehand whether or not he can do that, and then he would give the signal to that gentleman that I was talking about before to say, let's stop here. I don't know if they've given him that possibility, frankly, Wolf, and that would depend on the host country.
For Catholics, Father Beck, who are watching, who are along Fifth Avenue on both sides, they're crowded in. This is a moment that they will always remember.
They will cherish this moment because how rare it is that anyone gets to see a pope, and yet he has come here to the United States. We think of other popes who have been here, and I was thinking as I look at this Pope mobile, it's only in recent times that we have any kind of protective covering, and that's because John Paul II, there was an attempt on his life twice. And it was only after that they began to use this kind of enclosure. Benedict had a full enclosure. This Pope has a half enclosure because he wants more accessibility. But yes, for Catholics, this is a moment, and for all people of faith, this is a moment right now.
And they will want to be blessed by this Pope as well. And the Pope, when he raises his hand, in effect, he's blessing all those people.
That is right. He'll make the sign of the cross and bless them, or simply by the extension of his hand. It is indeed a blessing. We have all of these motorcycles behind us.
We've got about two dozen NYPD motorcycles passing right now by St. Patrick's Cathedral. That's still blocks in front of where the pictures you're seeing right now, where the Pontiff has now gotten onto the Pope mobile and is gradually, slowly moving down Fifth Avenue. As you can probably hear, also the bells of St. Patrick's Cathedral are ringing out to welcome this Pontiff for his first visit to this shrine.
And Anderson, you can only imagine how many videos and pictures are going to be posted on social media as a result of what's happening here in Manhattan right now.
There's some people, I mean, they're so deep on Fifth Avenue, some people in the back probably can't even see the Pontiff, but they're holding up their cameras just hoping that they'll get something, some images that they can look at later as to register that they were in fact there. But just the excitement of being in that crowd, you can really feel it when you talk to people as we did when we were coming here.
Alexandra Field, are you there in that crowd right now? If you are, tell us where you are and what you're seeing. Unfortunately, I think we don't have Alexandra, and we don't have Jason Carroll. We're going to try to reconnect with them. But you see all of these vehicles, you see all the protection for the Pope. Jim Sciutto, you're watching what's going on, and it's a moment New Yorkers certainly will always remember.
No question. It's a special moment. You want to focus on that moment, but really, you can't help but notice the enormous phalanx of security around him. We watched the security in Washington when he did the brief circle of the White House ellipse in that parade route. That security looked intense. This even a level up, you know, and some of that is the nature of the threat. Some of it is the style of the security on the ground here, and it is more security than he would have in Rome. That's partly style, but it's also the perception that there is a greater threat here. And just again, we know that the Pope has said privately to his staff that he's a bit frustrated by the distance he's had to keep from the crowd most of the time. We saw him bridge that distance when he landed at the airport at JFK. But you know this Pope, we know this Pope, we know where he likes to be, how close he likes to be to the crowd. It's not ideal for him to be behind that phalanx, but that's a decision made by the Secret Service in conjunction with the New York Police Department, with the FBI, Vatican security.
I talked to a former Swiss guard last night who used to guard the Pope, and one of the things he was saying is that it's a balance. For the Vatican security, it's a balance between securing the Pope, protecting him, his physical safety, and also his mission to reach out to people. And Secret Service, they obviously err on the side of security, but for the Vatican security, when they're in St. Peter's and elsewhere, for them, they have to walk that line.
Yeah, we should say also, Anderson, that, this Pope and others have already taken into account the fact that, yes, their security is important, but that's not really the main thing. And what's going to be is going to be. And, I think we saw that with John Paul II, the assassination attempt right in his own front yard of St. Peter's Square. So even after that, they didn't, they tried to increase security, but still allowing the Pope to be Pope.
Let's see, as the Pope-mobile approaches the camera, let's just kind of listen to the sounds to see if we can hear the crowd response to the pontiff. He's about 200 feet from St. Patrick's Cathedral right now. I can actually see him now from our location. And I got to say, it is an extraordinary sight to actually see the Pope. For having covered him for so long, to suddenly see him in person. He is now pulling up right in front of St. Patrick's. You can see the media risers. That is where we are. And he's just about to be greeted by the mayor of New York, the governor of New York, senator of New York, Chuck Schumer, and others.
It's amazing when you think about this, Anderson. The Pope, he's been up since early this morning. He delivered a lengthy address before the United States Congress. He then had lunch with homeless people in Washington, D.C., making his way here. And look, he's about to get off the Pope-mobile. I see.
He's right here. Stop looking at the monitor.
And he looks so alert. He looks so pumped. He looks so excited. It's an amazing moment.
He's right there. It's extraordinary. This is an amazing vantage point. And for the kids who are waiting for him, this is incredibly exciting. Let's just listen in here as the crowd greets him.
All right, here are the pontiffs now speaking with the governor of New York, Governor Cuomo. You see Chuck Schumer, the senior senator from New York. He's here, Timothy Dolan, the cardinal, here in New York City. They're all getting ready to go inside for evening prayers. A huge crowd here, Anderson. I must say, Anderson, I haven't seen you this excited in a long time.
It's cool. I mean, it's the Pope. You don't get to see the Pope every day. I mean,
that
this is pretty
true.
Awesome.
It is.
I mean, amazing. I was in St. Peter's when he came out on that balcony, and that was an extraordinary moment.
Because it seems a little bit more normal at St. Peter's.
It does, to see him in New York. And
it's on Fifth Avenue. It's
in
a
the
bit
Pope-mobile, which is such a cool vehicle. It's
Anderson, if you'll remember, I was there with you then, and when his name was announced, we said, who?
Right, yes.
We never could have imagined who would be.
John Berman is with us as well. John, you're right across the street from the Pope, and you have a bird's eye view.
It's just really unbelievable to see Governor Cuomo speaking to the Pope, perhaps in Italian. Governor Cuomo does speak some Italian, as does the Pope. Chuck Schumer speaking to them up and now. The mayor, Bill de Blasio, they were posing for photos. You can see the smiles on all those men's faces. And by the way, they're three large men. Mayor de Blasio, very tall. Andrew Cuomo, very tall. But Pope Francis, I think, up to the moment, the size of the moment per se, now waving to the masses of people who've been waiting here for hours and hours just to see him.
He was just pointing out to the school kids who have been waiting to see this Pope, and that's who the Pope was waving to, the school kids, which are off to his left. On his left side, to his right, are some of the workers who have been working on St. Patrick's Cathedral.
It's an amazing moment for people
$177 million.
watching on television. But as much as it is amazing for people who are watching, those of us who are here right across the street watching the Pope get out of that Pope Mobile and walk up these stairs into St. Patrick's Cathedral for these evening prayers. It's a moment all of us will certainly always remember. And Delia Gallagher, you spent years at the Vatican covering the Vatican. This is a moment you will cherish as well.
Well, I've seen a lot of papal entries into cities and cathedrals, but honestly, this one beats them all. I mean, really, with the security, with the crowds, with the lights, with the bells. I think even for the Pope, it's a bit overwhelming at this point.
It is an extraordinary avenue to be driving down. You know, it's one of the, it's almost a cement canyon of glorious buildings on either side, beautiful shops, and then you end up at this extraordinary cathedral. And let's listen inside the church.